Okay.
All right.
We
did it again.
We did it again. Third time. Why do we start every podcast with "we did it again"?
Because we are doing it again.
Because I guess we're always.
That's true.
We're always surprised when we do it again.
We followed through.
We followed through.
And this week we're giving the people what they want.
Yeah.
For the people this week.
We're doing what people want, if you will.
Yeah. Today, this is double feature.
Yes, this is double feature. We are a professional podcast.
Yes.
Who knows exactly what we are doing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Renee. What's your favorite rom-com? Do you have one? Because you're not a rom-com person.
I'm not really.
I'm a rom-com person.
More recently, I have delved into the world of rom-coms. I would say, if we're counting, like, anything that, like...
Anything that counts as romance?
Yeah, if we're going that far, then it's gonna be Megamind. They fall in love in the movie.
They do fall in love in the movie.
But if you don't want to count that, fine. I would say my favorite, probably strictly rom-com, is probably what's the one about heaven with Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah, and Reese Witherspoon.
I
don't remember what it's called.
I don't remember what it's called either, but that's my favorite.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Because you're the more expert.
Yeah. I like The Holiday.
Oh, that's a good one too. Mm-hmm. We watched that one together.
Yeah.
What are we talking? What rom-com specifically are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about what women want and what men want.
I found the title. It's Just Like Heaven.
Yes.
Yes.
So this week we're talking about what women want and what men want.
Mm-hmm. Kind of the same movie, but one is a remake.
It's like a spin-off remake.
Yeah.
It's not a spin-off. It's like has no relation. It's
which one's the first one? That's what women want. Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that one is about a womanizer who electrocutes him. Doesn't electrocute himself. He accidentally electrocutes himself, and then is able to read the thoughts of women. And
you should be more specific, because he doesn't just electrocute himself. He's an advertiser, and so they're trying to advertise products to women. So he's trying on all of these products for women, and then he electrocutes himself in a bathtub full of women's products.
And then because watching this with Erin, you were like the entire time you were like, he's gonna turn into a woman, right? Like that's gonna be the whole thing, is he turns into a woman.
Because I didn't know what the plot of this was going to be. So like I just knew that it was gonna be something about like a man like learning about women's ways. So I was like, he's gonna turn into a woman. This is gonna be trans. So he's gonna turn into a woman.
And before we go any further, I think it is important to acknowledge that The Holiday and What Women Want were directed by the same woman.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Nancy Myers.
I learned something new today.
I don't know if they were both written by her. I'm assuming, because I know that she's very well known for being a writer-director.
That's the original What Women Want that was directed by her.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
The titles sound so similar, I'm going to get confused, and I'm going to have to ask every time.
Yeah. Yeah. So the remake is a woman who drinks tea and then hits her head.
That's right.
Because there's the psychic. Mm-hmm. She's at a bachelorette party, and there's a psychic who comes, and like it's part of the party where like, I'm gonna tell your futures. I'm gonna like give you guys some like information, and then she drinks some special tea.
It's a very weird scene.
It's a very weird scene. I don't remember it very well.
It feels a lot like. Do you know how I forget which Freaky Friday it is. It's not the original, the one that I like. It's one of the remakes of Freaky Friday where the way that they switch is they go to a Chinese restaurant and a Chinese woman is like, I have magic, so I'm going to switch you. And it's like, hey, maybe don't do things that are racially motivated.
Yeah.
It feels weird.
Yeah. I'm like, that step was totally unnecessary. She could have just gone to the bachelorette party, gotten drunk, and hit her head on the stage.
Yeah. And there was no point for the tea.
There was no point, except to be like a MacGuffin, you know? Yeah. Like, it was like, obviously it was the tea, so now I have to go to her. It was just an extra plot step that we didn't really need. Because that movie had just a lot going on plot-wise anyways, with her work, and then the guy, the dude with the kid, and then the like whole lie of we're married and then that movie got so much going on. And also it came out in 2019, right around the time of let's remake this woman. Let's
remake this woman, make her a whole new woman.
Yeah. Let's remake this movie and make it about women. Like let's just gender bend it.
But like the thing is that the movie was already about women.
Yeah,
because it was about him learning about how women see the world, which
was interesting in its own right, particularly with him being a womanizer. And that whole opening sequence with, first of all, the younger version of Mel Gibson is Logan Lerman, and I think that's so important to point out. The kid who's Percy Jackson in the movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he is, he's being raised by
all the strippers, yeah.
Yes,
and it's like, you would think that would make someone less misogynistic.
But apparently not.
Apparently
that just makes him more misogynistic.
Yeah.
He's probably like one of those guys that's like, I was raised surrounded by women, so I know exactly what women think.
Yeah. But then there was also the flip side of, because he was around women constantly, the men that his mom let him be around were all these like overly masculine men in order to sort of like reverse the effect that the women were having on him. And so the only male role models he had were like these sleazeballs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he became a sleazeball.
Yeah,
until he could learn to read minds.
Until he could learn to read minds.
Yeah.
And also, when I was going through all the letterbox reviews of What Women Want, it was just a lot of, I guess men need electroshock therapy to feel empathy.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's crazy.
I'm so certain that was something along the lines of my letterbox review. I'm pretty sure it was something like, a man learns empathy, not clickbait.
Yeah. It's so weird. These two movies are so weird from a context of today, now 2024, where we have less of a, we know that gender isn't binary. And in these movies, gender is seen as very binary, except that like, through the one instance in the original where they acknowledge transgender people for a one-off joke of the two secretaries in his office, where he's like, yeah, that's it. Like, you don't have anything else to say? And they're like...
It was also, like, confusing.
Yeah.
Like, are they supposed to be, like, is the joke that they're trans women, so they're not real women, quote unquote? Is that what the joke is?
Because, and I'm gonna say this because the movie came out in 2000, so it was written and developed in the 90s. It probably was that they were trans women.
Okay.
Yeah. And they were saying, yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. And so
that makes me sad.
Yeah. And then they don't address transgender people at all in the remake.
Which is arguably a little better.
At least, yeah.
But it makes you wonder, though, what would this mind-reading power... Because the mind-reading power, it only works on the opposite gender in both movies. So in What Women Want, he can read women's minds, and in What Men Want, she can read men's minds. How does this power work for gender non-conforming people?
And this is why I wanted to talk about these movies, is because this idea has such potential. And so, and like from a context of today, how we see gender, and even 5 years ago, when What Men Want came out, like...
See, even you couldn't remember which one it was.
I was like, hang on. The main character is a woman, so it's about what men want.
Yes.
It's just so interesting how much different the movie would be if it came out today. And so my proposal for how to change this movie is make it be like you can read the minds of people you're attracted to. And so it would be really interesting with having like the Mel Gibson character of being like such a misogynist, and he's able to read the minds of like every woman. He's attracted to every woman because he's supposed to be. Or maybe he can't read the minds of some women. He's like, I'm supposed to be attracted to you, why am I not? And he may like, and toxic masculinity often like, because men are the only people you see as real people, you can only be truly attracted to men. And so, like, sometimes he can read the minds of men, and he's like, what's going on? And then he falls in love with a man, because obviously that's the only route that movie can take.
Maybe there's multiple people who can read the gender of the people they're attracted to, and they're like a secret society of mind readers, but they can only read minds of people who are attracted to, and they're can you tell I like science fiction and fantasy? And they're hunted down across the mind readers, they're tracked down across the face of the earth.
But like, what I want to see in a movie like this is a scene where this character is working with another character who, like, they haven't been able to read their minds, they're not attracted to them, and then, like, as they bond, boom, suddenly they can read their mind, and it's like fuck, I like this person.
Like a demi-person.
Yeah, like, you realize, I'm attracted to this person now. Like, I think that would be so cute and fascinating.
Whoa.
Right?
That would be so fascinating.
I can see that scene so clearly in my mind. Like, and then how do you go on with that? And
then you could go on from that scene to have the scene that is in every single one of these movies where the person who can read the minds is having sex, and then they're like, oh no, I'm bad at this for some reason, and then it's like, I can read minds. It's like you were doing exactly what I wanted the second that I wanted it. I didn't even have to say it. It's like you were in my head.
And, like, on top of that, the way that these movies treat gay people is really weird. Like, with Mel Gibson and Marissa Tomei, where she's, like, following him, and then she's like, just tell me you're gay. Like, I know you're not interested in me.
Oh, that was so funny. That was so funny. And then, please, tell me you're gay or I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah. And then she goes, how gay are you?
That was so funny, though.
So funny.
I loved that.
Well, what's so crazy is that at the beginning of, like, when you meet that character, she's like, shouldn't he know, like, he's not my type. Like, he's not my type. And you immediately think, oh, she's a lesbian. And then she's not. It's like, why would she say that? And she's like, he's not my type. And then, like, and then for the rest of the movie, like, obviously he is exactly her type.
Because he can read her mind, and he knows exactly what her type is.
Yeah. And then in What Men Want, there's her assistant, and then Pete Davidson. And the entire time she thinks Pete Davidson is in love with her, when really it's the other guy. And those two were actually the best part of that movie.
They were the best part of that movie.
Yeah, they were the best part of that movie.
When Pete Davidson comes back out at the end, and he's like, oh my god, I got a job as an agent, and Pete Davidson, like, picks him up and spins him around. So cute!
That was so cute! Oh.
It was so cute.
Yeah.
I'm blanking.
Oh.
on what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Next topic.
We also need to talk about the woman in What Women Want who wants to kill herself.
Oh, you want to know what her name is? Erin!
Wow!
It's me! I can't say it. I hope everyone knows the joke that I'm thinking, and I'm holding my tongue. I'm not gonna say it.
It's good. I think we all see ourselves in that Erin, because it's so... And then, what's so crazy is he starts hearing her voice, and she's like, no one would know if I just, like, left until, like, all the paperwork started piling up. And then he's like, she's
so funny.
Yeah. She's just really goofy. She's a little guy.
I was thinking that the whole time. Like, she'd be like, I'm so depressed. I just want to end my life. And he's like, she's so funny.
Yeah. Huh?
What do you mean? Sir.
I mean, like, I feel like that is sort of, like, the main thing that shows his character growth is when he actually goes to help her, and she's like, I wasn't gonna kill myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because in the end of the movie, she doesn't show up for work that day, and he's like, oh no, Erin is gonna kill herself, and it goes, like, running, and then it's raining, and there's, like, a down power line, and he can't get to her house, and he makes the choice to go through that alleyway to her house, and he gets electrocuted again, and then he loses the mind reading power. By making this choice to go help Erin, he chose to give up the mind reading power, which I think is a good character choice.
Yeah. I feel like in the plot of each movie is very different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they both really center on work, which I think is really interesting, and like work, like gender dynamics in a work environment. And the stereotype of like the man-eater in like the working environment.
Yeah. And they both take different approaches to this, which is part of why we wanted to talk about like these two specifically. Like in the original, she shows up and she's the ball buster, you know, she's the shark, the woman, and he's like, why did she get the job over me? I've been working here for several years or something.
Yeah.
And then, like, he kind of learns, oh, she's actually good at her job, and I'm stealing all her ideas, and I'm, like, taking credit for her work, essentially. And I think that that's a really interesting approach to both his arc and to exploring the dynamics of being not only the only woman in the room, but being the person who is in charge, and how the men in the room respond to you being the only woman in charge. Whereas with what women want, like, her being the ball buster is like the arc that she has to go through. Like how he's a womanizer in the original, she's the, what did you call it earlier? The man-eater?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's that archetype.
Yeah. And so she already like feels empowered in her work, and she feels like, I really want a promotion and I really want all these opportunities that the men around me are getting. And then it's like, okay, so what is her character arc supposed to be? And then it's about her like softening up and learning to care about other people when I feel, and yeah, because like it does say a lot about, it's like, oh, like quit your job and get married. It like feels like, yes, she should be a well-rounded character. She has female friends who she kind of neglects, and so I like that there's the like, she needs to go apologize to her friends after the whole wedding fiasco, and then they, like, you know.
And she doesn't just get her job and quit her job and get married, because she quits her job to go start her own business, where she'll be in charge and she'll be respected.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fine ending for her, but, you know.
But she doesn't really change her environment all that much. Because at her big company, because she works in sports management, and within that company, there's not really any change except for her main nemesis, I guess, in her work environment. She changes his opinion of her, and then he quits with her, and they start their own company together. But like, I feel like the environment around her doesn't change at all.
And I feel like even in the individual scenes, like they both have a scene where the character is passed up for a promotion. And simply by changing both the gender and the race, the dynamics of the scene feel completely different.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a good example of like writing, of like the consequences of writing, I don't want to say consequences, but that's the only word I can think of writing female characters. Like a lot of people, for really good well-rounded female characters, a lot of people will bring up Ripley from Aliens, and I love Ripley. Ripley's amazing. She's an awesome character. I think she's really cool. I think what's her actress, Sigourney Weaver, is really cool. But when people bring her up, they always bring her up as like, when you're writing female characters, you shouldn't write with gender in mind. You should only write, like, characters. Because when the original Alien movie was created, none of the characters had gender until they found the actors. So Ripley could have been a man and could have been a woman. And I'm like, that's great. That's lovely. However, Ripley being a woman completely changes the context in Alien. Like, she then, similar to what we're talking about, she then becomes the ballbuster character. The voice of reason who nobody listens to, and because nobody listens to her, the alien gets aboard the ship. Like, that becomes such an interesting, like, social dynamic because they've changed her character to a woman. And I think there are a lot of people out there who, like, don't think that changing the gender of a character has consequences, but there can be consequences to it.
Yeah. And I feel like with what women want, the message of the movie was not at all clear. Mm-hmm. They were sort of like, let's take this movie that people are familiar with and twist it so that we can make money. That's what it kind of felt like. They were like, Nancy Meyers is really popular. This is a way we can sort of make a movie without making original content.
Like you said, it was the time where people were remaking movies with women as the main characters.
Yeah. Which, you know, and I feel like right after, you know, the 2016 Ghostbusters, you know, 4 female Ghostbusters, they, like...
What's that one Vine audio?
4 female Ghostbusters, the feminists are taking over.
I'm an adult virgin. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. And that movie was not received well, so, you know, it's interesting that they continued with it despite, you know... Because they didn't think about sort of the gender politics at all, and sort of what they were saying about gender within the movie. It's sort of just used as a, you know, a fun plot device in order to get her to care about people in a deeper way, as opposed to what can you do for me for work. And yes, she should be a well-rounded character, but within the context of, you know, sort of trying to flip the script with sort of female characters and being able to read minds, it feels like there wasn't really any sort of reversal of any character trope. She was just sort of...
I zoned out really hard.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Like, it feels like they weren't really reversing any tropes with her reading minds. It sort of was just...
It was either the same beats from the original movie, like the sex scene we talked about, or it was like similar beats with some context changed, like the promotion scene we were talking about where they go passive for the promotion, or like the original stuff just felt weird in context.
And like with the original movie, it feels like he's just making little moves and little nudges throughout the whole movie. Whereas with the remake, she's making these really big lies that she can get caught on. She's pulling a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work as well. It is like that whole revelation scene where he learns that he's lying about her and using that she's lying about him, and she's using him and saying, like, oh, this is my husband and this is my kid, and then he sort of learns. That scene is painful. That scene is
so painful that when we watched this movie, we paused the movie and went to go get Yogurtland and then came back to the movie. To be fair, Yogurtland was also closing, but
we were like, you know what's gonna make this scene better?
Yogurt.
Yeah, yogurt.
Yogurt makes everything better. Every time we have to watch a painful movie for one of these, we go and get Yogurtland.
Yeah. We did the same for Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Did we do that for Wish also? I think we did.
We did not.
No?
No, we just watched it cold turkey.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we were able to do that.
I had a migraine, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Hey.
It's for the people.
It's for the people.
We're for the people this week.
For the people this week. And then also, like, the kids. The kids in this movie. Like, Mel Gibson has the daughter, and then at the very beginning, she's like, you know, my dad is like my uncle. Yeah, Uncle Dad. And, you know, she's like, he doesn't care about me, and then... and then at the very end, you have the really sweet scene where she, like, he's been warning her about this boyfriend, mostly because he's a misogynistic piece of shit, but... Parallels! But then he, like, goes sees her at the prom because her boyfriend, like, was like, you gotta have sex with me because I took you to prom. And then she's crying in the bathroom, and he, like, comforts her. And that's a really sweet scene. That's a really good reversal of character. Whereas... like, I feel like with the remake, the main character has no connection with her love interest's kid.
Yeah. It's also not her kid, it's her love interest's kid.
And she's making a lot of promises to him. Like, she says, like, oh, I'm gonna bring you a race car cake.
Yeah. And then, like, her resolution is that she does bring him a race car cake.
Yeah.
Which, like, I feel like in the original, like, we were literally just pointing out parallels. Like, there's a reason to the scene beyond just character, and character is important. Them making up is a very sweet scene. But there's also, like, it's then still discussing these gender dynamics that are important to the themes of the movie, whereas with the remake, it's like, she promised the kid a race car cake, and then she brought him one.
And I don't think she ever reads his mind. Does she ever read the kid's mind?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Which, like, that was part of the fun of the first one, where he could read, like, her mind, and she was like, just get out, Dad. Like, you could really hear her, like, teenage thoughts.
Yeah. He could hear everyone's thoughts. There's even a joke where he reads the thoughts of a poodle, which is really funny.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. It's funny.
And I like that scene where, like, they're in, like, that small room and they're just, like, pitching ideas. And he's, like, reading the minds of the woman and pitching these grand ideas. And then they're all like, that idea sucks. Like, how true that idea is of, like, oh, like, you can, I don't know, like, you have a headache, so you don't have sex, and, like...
Are you talking about where one of the women thinks in her head, she's like, oh yeah, I take an Advil every time I need to fake a migraine, if you know what I mean. And he's like, what if we do an ad about that? And it's like, maybe we don't do an ad about that, actually. Like, it's, maybe we don't use private thoughts in a public space. Yeah. I feel like we should talk about the romance in both movies, because this is rom-coms episode.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, anytime.
I'm great. Yeah. Hey, I came up with the idea of talking about romance. Yeah. But I did all the work.
Yeah. In the first one, the dynamic is very clear. Of like, he's the misogynist, she's the man-eater, and it's an enemies to lovers dynamic. Mm-hmm. And in the remake, how do they even meet?
They meet because he works at a bar.
He works at a bar and she was meeting her dad there.
Yeah.
And then she just went up to him and started talking to him.
Yes. Is What Women Want, is that the one where they also meet in a bar and he comes up to her and he's like, I bet I can make you fall in love with me. And she's like, no. And then there's another guy there who's like, I bet I can make you fall in love with me. And she's like, no. And then he flirts a little. That's Hitch. I'm thinking of Hitch. It's a completely different movie. Completely different premise. But I think I'm thinking of it because he's also a womanizer.
Yeah. and that's always fun, where it's sort of the Mr. Darcy thing of he needs to fix himself to be worthy of the love interest. Mm-hmm. And I love that trope, so I find it fun.
Mm-hmm. I also like that trope, even if I don't like Mr. Darcy. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
But I feel like with What Men Want, they have no reason to be in a relationship. And then suddenly they hook up. So they're at the bar, and then they go home and hook up. And then later, his kid catches them in bed. And then, and then later, she randomly sees, he comes to her work because she, like, forgot something, or because the kid stole her underwear. Right?
I don't think it was her underwear. I think it was, like, her ID or something.
Yes, it was, like, her, yeah.
Like, something that she would actually need, and also something that would give him information to where she works.
Yeah. But, yeah. Because when they wake up, he's wearing the underwear on his head.
Like it's a Batman mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is definitely a joke.
That's a joke. That's a choice you can make.
It's a choice you could make. Other jokes in this movie, there's a bit where right afterwards she has a condom on her back and nobody tells her.
Awful.
Yeah, these are definitely jokes.
These are, mature adult jokes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, the original has, how gay are you? How gay are you?
Yeah. It's just, like, as much as I hate that character is the crazy ex. She's great. The character who says, "How gay are you?"
Oh, yes.
Yeah. We don't know any of these characters' names.
No.
We
also, it's been a second. So usually we watch these right before we record. And we had watched these, like, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But so we were like, it's close enough. We don't need to watch it again.
It's close enough.
But we might be missing some details in our brains.
Yeah. But I feel like, the general points that we want to make are, we want to discuss the rom-com. We want to discuss how gender is discussed in both movies, where the premise is highly reliant upon gender and gender binary particularly, which I think we've made the statement, it does not work. Mm-hmm. It does not hold up.
It doesn't hold up.
And which is why I really want to see in 20 years another remake where they do my idea of you can read the minds of people you're attracted to, and then you can really flip the script.
I want to see my idea of a secret society of mind readers, and they get hunted across the... It's like that one anime. Oh, what's that one anime where they're all wearing, like, different colored sweat jackets, and they each have a different power, and one of them is a mind reader, and there's, like, a time loop going on. This is, like, every anime ever that I'm describing.
Yeah, I wouldn't know and I can't help you.
Yeah, I'll Google it later and put the name on the screen.
Yeah, so back to the rom-com.
Yes.
Right, so we're putting back together the thread of the plot of What Men Want.
Yes.
Essentially, I think, the fact that I can't remember, and rom-coms, at least today, Book Talk has kind of diluted the rom-com to tropes, where it's very easy for us to say that the original is an enemies to lovers, workplace romance, morally gray main character.
Magic.
Supernatural. Whereas the remake does not really have those kinds of tropes. There's one night stand, there's single dad,
one thing
lying, miscommunication. People have said the lying trope, and I think that's ridiculous and hilarious, so I will use it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, I think that they're just trying to give a new name to liar reveal trope, which is a trope, but you can't just say every time a character lies that's a trope. That doesn't fall under liar reveal.
Yeah.
Liar reveal is specifically somebody lying about their identity for most of the movie, and then it gets revealed. Like Rango. I don't know why that's my example. I think I'm just thinking about Rango.
Because I feel like with reversing the gender for the remake, they make it less about the romance. Mm-hmm. The romance is now a secondary plot line in the thread of her trying to land this client.
I will say the one thing that I do appreciate about the remake is the fact that she has somebody who knows her secret and knows that she can read minds. Mm-hmm. Because every scene with the assistant is really funny. Mm-hmm. He's really funny. He also voices Minion or Chum in the Megamind sequel. I just thought I'd point that out.
Yeah, because Aaron goes, he sounds really familiar.
Like, so familiar. Yeah. And it's not that he looks familiar, it's that his voice is familiar.
Yeah. And I was like, I can't help you. I know him from Silicon Valley. Like, I can't help you. I'm sorry.
Oh, God. But I'm pushing that out of my brain. Moving on. Everything comes back to Megamind too. But every scene with him is really funny because he is the opposite gender. Like, they kind of have a moment with that in the original, but it's with another guy where he tries to tell another guy that he can read women's minds, and he's like, okay, prove it. And he's like, this person thinks this about you. And he's like, nuh-uh. There's no proof for that, and then
I think he straight up goes up and asks her, and she says, no, I don't think that about you. Because it's like a mean thing to think about someone, and he's like, see, you're wrong.
Yeah. But, like, in the remake, because he is the opposite gender, she can read his mind and prove, hey, I can read your mind. And then he knows, and he's able to help her, he's able to be somebody for her to exposit her feelings to.
Yeah. And it would be interesting to have someone like that in the original. But there is that little montage of him making the lives of the women around him better.
Mm-hmm.
Like with his assistant, who...
I'm pretty sure, I don't even think it's a montage. I'm pretty sure it's just one scene where he's talking with some women in the break room, and then the women leave, and then his assistant comes in and is like, I have news to tell you, and then he's talking to her also. Like, he's just talking to all the different women in the office.
Yeah. But he also, like, he helps his assistant who, like, she's like, I have an Ivy League degree and blah, 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 and my boyfriend is in Israel and won't come back, so, like, our relationship is on a hold, and then he, like, makes the boyfriend come back from Israel, and, I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah, why do you remember that?
I don't know.
For fun, I guess.
For fun, I guess. Whereas, and so we can actively see him becoming a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the remake, she really needs to hit the low. Mm-hmm. Of like, she lost a client, she lost her love interest, she has a breakdown during a wedding, she's lost everything.
And the breakdown during that part also made me so made me so angry, because the breakdown during the wedding is that she finally tells all of her female friends that all of their partners are cheating on them. And then they get angry at her for causing chaos at the wedding.
For ruining the wedding. And it's like,
she told you the truth. She's not the one who did it. She's just the one who said the truth. Like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because the first one, there's a clear arc of misogynist to man who respects women. And that's a clear arc that clearly goes with the enemies to lovers trope. She helps him become a better person. He helps her to find her spot within their workplace. And they're helping each other out. And the romance comes in tandem with all the work stuff because they work together. And so they are able to land the big client together. And then there's the sort of, he gets the client because she doesn't want to take credit for his work. Because he was the one who, dealt the final blow that allowed them to secure the client. Whereas the work stuff and the romance in the remake is very separate. And it doesn't flow as well. It's a very disjointed film. Because she's sort of, she's a well-rounded character. Like, we see her relationship with her father, we see her friends, we see her work life, we see her romance. And I think that she was a well-rounded character to begin with, and sort of the arc isn't very clear as far as what is the mind reading doing for her, except for letting her succeed in this male-dominated field, where the male-dominated field should change to let more women in, and should hear her out more. So
Sorry, you were talking about the male-dominated field, and I just remembered the guy who's like that's the person, or the father of the person who they're trying to represent. He's so funny. He's
so funny.
There's literally a point where he's like, you know what I'm thinking about. He's like, oh my god, I smell burnt toast. Am I having a stroke? Oh no, wait, there's just burnt toast in my pocket.
And that's so funny.
The level of steps he had to take. He had to burn toast, put the burned toast in his pocket for some reason, forget that it was in his pocket, bring the burned toast to this place.
And the context of that scene is they're at a poker game.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
How long ago did you make the toast? How long ago was the toast? Did you put the toast in your pocket?
How did you shove toast in your pocket? Well, men have bigger pockets.
Yeah, many more pockets than women have. Yeah.
So they can fit their burnt toast in their pockets.
And it's a one-off line. Like, it's so funny though.
It's really fun. They should have more jokes like that instead of like, she has a condom on her back. Oh, it's how embarrassing.
Because it's a lot of situational humor rather than quippy humor.
I love me some good silly humor, some silly comedy of errors stuff where it's like a guy who's just a little bit stupid finds himself in a situation that is beyond his control. That's like Ricky Stenicki. So funny. Ricky Stenicki was so funny.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. You know what? You know what I think also though is a good comparison to this movie, the original movie, like, but with the gender flipped. I'm not saying my words correctly.
No, yeah. Say the movie and I think I'll get it.
Okay, I'm thinking Just Like Heaven. Hear me out on this. So in Just Like Heaven, she also is a person who focuses on her work too much, I'm pretty sure. She's got this problem where she's a jerk, she never sees her sister, she's got all these problems in her life. Supernatural event happens to her that brings her and Mark Ruffalo together. And Mark Ruffalo is also going through an arc. He just lost his... Well, he didn't just lose, but he lost his wife, and he's sad. And together, the two of them go through a character arc and grow together. And they each have their own, like, arc. They each learn something. Whereas with what men want, it feels a lot like the girl lies, and then it's revealed, and then she apologizes, and he forgives her. And his arc is he forgives her.
Yeah, because I feel like the comment about gender that they were trying to make was, he's a single dad,
Mm-hmm.
like, he gets it, like, he respects women, and he, you know...
I respect you,
Yeah,
you know?
he's not like the other boys. And... Okay.
And?
Yeah, and...
So?
Yeah, so it wasn't really making a comment about gender. Yeah.
It just felt weird.
It just felt weird. It was so disjointed from the rest of the movie. It doesn't feel like the supernatural event. I feel like the movie could have happened without her reading people's minds.
Mm.
Like, the whole movie could have been the same if she just was an ambitious liar.
Yeah.
And, like, if she finally cracked. Like, she didn't get that promotion, so now she,
I think that
yeah.
overall the movie would have just worked better if it wasn't what men want. Hear me out. Let me explain.
Yes, no, I think I'll agree with you.
I feel like a lot of the things that are holding the movie back is because the original already exists. So it's already covering the same beats as the original, or it's trying to do the same thing as the original. Like because the original exists, it has that basis to go off of,
Mm-hmm.
and it inherently is going to make it suffer.
Yeah.
So I feel like the movie just would be better if it was its own original plot.
Yeah. Because you can have, like, you know, a movie that's making a comment about gender where she works in this male-dominated field and it's about her exploring the relationships with the men around her. And she's trying to find love and she's, like, realizing all these things about her friends' spouses and she's like, do I want to, like, have a romance? And that would have been so much more interesting if she was sort of getting, like, maybe, like, she's the last single friend out of all of her friends, and so maybe, like, her friend's fiance, like, reaches out to her and is like, hey, let's, like, sleep together, and then, like, that's a subplot. And I feel like, well, like, because she would need to learn about the cheating without reading minds, is like, the thing I'm hitting at. I feel like plenty of shenanigans in the movie were pulled without mind reading being a factor.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if she was just a detective and really, like, was, like, bribing the assistants of the other managers, learned about the poker night, it felt like the mind reading didn't enhance the plot. We don't need the psychic in the plot. Mm-hmm. She has no payoff at all.
Yeah, and I think, like, whereas in the original, the mind reading is important to the plot because it helps him see through women's perspective and then learn empathy. Like, it wouldn't be a man learns empathy, not clickbait, if he couldn't see through their eyes, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like she learns, in the remake, the main character learns about empathy without needing to read people's minds. Because she's already sympathetic towards men. She has a father who she loves. She respects the men she works with for the most part. If they respect her a little bit back, you know, it's not really her problem, but she has an assistant who respects her. And
I zoned out again.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I don't
right.
mean to zone out over everything you're talking about. I'm just really tired.
Understandable. Watching these movies and talking about them is
It's very tiring.
Very
It's
tiring.
very, we're very exhausted.
There's two little guys talking about movies. We're tuckered out.
We're so sleepy. We're two little guys. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, because she has men in her life who respect her, and she respects them. She has her assistant. She has her dad. She doesn't need the mind reading to learn about empathy, and that was that's what the device in the original was doing. So it sort of felt like, oh, you work too much.
Stop working.
Yeah, and it's like, women can focus on their careers, and like that's feminism, is let women do what they want. Let it be about what women want. And
we don't need another movie about what men want.
Yeah, and it's like, why does... And she's like, because it feels... The mind reading feels almost selfish in the remake. Of she's like, how, like, oh, this is what I can use to get ahead in my job. Of, this is the way the world is, and now, like, I can tap in more to learning about... the patriarchy, and sort of, what does my boss think about me? How can I do more to serve the men around me, whether it's clients or the other managers or my dad or the guys I want to sleep with. We haven't talked about the guy who she meets in the elevator, the hot guy.
Oh my god,
who's Ed Boy from Twilight.
Yeah. No, you're so right. I completely forgot about that scene until you said it. No, that scene was insane. It's in my notes.
That, because I was like, all I'm seeing when I look at you is I'm seeing you, but paler, with a bag of hard-boiled eggs. That's all I'm seeing.
I forgot he was the ex-boy.
Yeah, I don't remember what the character's name is. I call him Egg Boy. Sorry.
Sorry.
We love that actor, obviously. We're talking about him.
I don't know his name. Do we love that actor?
We love that character in Twilight.
Yeah. He looks like a little bit like Chris Hemsworth. So, you know.
Fair enough, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But that scene was crazy. Basically, in this, they have this setup before she can read minds where there's this hot guy who lives in her building, and she's like, oh my god, he's so hot. He'll never notice me. He always just listens to his little music and then leaves the elevator. And then she gains the ability to read minds, and she gets in the elevator, and he's like, man, this lady's so hot. I wish she would just push me up against the wall and kiss me right now.
Yeah, but he thinks that she is dating the assistant. And he's like, how did he bag her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she pushes him up against the wall and kisses him, and he's like, oh, that's so hot. Let's go back to my place. And then they go back to his place, and it turns out he's like into crazy BDSM stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and like powder my nose, and he's like, okay, cool. And then she goes to the bathroom and is like, you got this. And then when she comes back out, he's like tied up in this huge thing.
It's like completely ridiculous.
Yeah. And she like, how did you get there on your own? And then
that's a good point. How did you do all that by yourself in the like 10 minutes she was in the bathroom?
And then she like literally runs away, and he's just left there. Like, what do you like?
Help him.
Yeah, like he probably can get out if he got in on his own, but
it's such a stupid scene.
But
yeah, yes.
Yeah, but like I feel like she's already living a healthy life. She just needed the push to start her own company. And that would have been so much more interesting if she had started her own company and that's where the movie started. And, I've so, like, the binder reading idea has so much potential. But it's just done so wrong.
It's just there.
It's just there. Because the reliance on the gender binary, it does not hold up.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm excited for the remakes in 20 years.
In 20 years.
Call
us. Because we'll be in the industry.
And,
well, yeah. you'll be in movies. I want to work in television, so that will not be my...
So your Secret Society TV show and my rom-com about hearing the minds of people you're attracted to.
Yeah. Let's be honest. Different genres,
different mediums.
Let's be honest, though. Everything I write has some sort of secret society involved. They're just too fun. I can't help myself.
It's fun. It's cute.
Secret Society of Mind Readers. Get on that, guys.
Get on that, guys.
Do we have anything else we want to say about about these movies?
Um,
Do you want to talk about other rom-coms?
do I? Well, I feel like very recently there have been, not until very recently, there have been LGBT rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rom-com genre historically is very questionable.
Mm-hmm.
The humor they rely on is...
I saw a movie. I forget what film it is. It had Owen Wilson in it and another guy. Because again, I've been watching more rom-coms.
Does it also have Reese Witherspoon?
I think so.
Or are you talking about Wedding Crashers?
I'm talking about Wedding Crashers.
Okay.
There's a joke in Wedding. There's a so not Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson is the main guy. The other guy who is his like
I think that's Vince Vaughn.
Sure. It's his buddy, right? And his relationship is with the Owen Wilson's love interest's sister, right? And her sister is literally insane. There is literally a point where she ties the guy down and does stuff that I cannot say.
Yeah, it's basically an essay scene.
Yeah, and then afterwards he's like, I want to leave. And Owen Wilson's like, I'm not gonna leave. And first off, what a terrible friend.
Yeah.
And second off, the more insane thing is the fact that he gets married to the crazy girl in the end. That's... Why?
Because I feel like rom-coms historically have relied on very bad gender politics in order to make it make sense for straight people to end up together. And so I feel like what women want at the time was sort of revolutionary in the 90s.
In the 90s.
In the 90s, where we need to learn that men need electroshock therapy and not actual therapy to feel empathy. And so that, I think that's what's so fascinating about the premise is because romance is a whole genre dedicated to making male characters who respect women. Mm-hmm. And that is the whole reason for the genre.
Yeah. And
men ridicule it because they're like, that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
And
for men, the male gaze that they think what women want is something like Thor, big muscle guy, blonde, handsome. No shade to Chris Hemsworth. He's hot. He's attractive.
He's a silly guy.
He's a silly guy, and lots of people love Thor. However, the female gaze is Loki and will always be Loki. At least for me.
And, you know, in The Holiday, it's not the big buff dudes. It's Jack Black and Jude Law with glasses.
Yeah.
And
like Jack Black is so sweet in that movie.
So sweet.
He does not deserve to be cheated on in that movie. He's such a kind little guy. And... Sorry.
And this scene in the Blockbuster where he's like, do you want, like, right before he learns that he's been cheated on, he's like, do you want the little Delta whipped cream or the big Delta whipped cream? I didn't know which one you wanted. And then, when his ex-girlfriend is apologizing to him, and you see him, like, playing, like, the melody that you hear in the background.
It's the little things.
It's little things. That's the female gaze. Mm-hmm. And
then Jude Law is also there, and is also very sweet, and he's a single dad with 2 kids, and he loves his kids.
Yeah.
And he's Jude Law.
And, like, on the phone, and she thinks that he's, like, that he has, like, a Rolodex of girls, and she's like, oh, like, you're going home to Sarah, and he's like, yeah, I gotta get home to Sarah. And then she gets there, and then the kids are so cute. And they're like, can you come over all the time? Can you do Mr. Napkin Head?
We should just watch The Holiday again. It's not the time of year for it.
It's not the time of year for it, but essentially, you know, that I feel like, you know, the male characters, mm-hmm. and then it's the Pride and Prejudice thing of Mr. Darcy changing himself mm-hmm. to respect Jane.
Yeah.
And to respect Mr. Bingley wanting to be with Jane's sister, and romance is just a genre for women's voices to be heard and for there to be positive male figures like Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
like the man Mark Ruffalo.
The real man, Mark Ruffalo. Listen, he's been in so many rom-coms. He practically is a rom-com lead himself. But like, all of my favorite rom-coms are like ones where the relationship is really sweet. Like there are some rom-coms where it's like really basic, or the jokes go too far, or it's not interesting, or it's a toxic relationship. I don't like those ones. This is why I've been pushed away from the rom-com genre as a whole for such a long time, because it's so oversaturated with that stuff. But I've learned recently that if you get your sources and you know where to look for and what to look for, you can find films that like where two people genuinely love each other and they take care of each other and they are very sweet to each other, and that makes my lonely heart so happy.
Yeah. And I feel like with, you know, what women want, the common ground of the relationship is respect. And I think that that's like beautiful, and it's a great message. And with what men want, they both respect each other and they both get there, but that whole relationship is diluted by everything else.
It's diluted by her painful lie.
Yeah, by the lie, by her reading his mind, which is really invasive, and she never apologizes for it. I like in What Women Want, he confesses, like, I've been reading your mind and I can prove it, and he apologizes. And there's not really there is accountability with what men want, but she never really apologizes for reading his mind and like abusing her power that way.
He does get accountability though, because he goes so far as to he apologizes to her and confesses to her everything, and he gets her job back. And in response to that, she's like, well, you know I have to fire you, right?
Yeah.
Like, he gets a consequence because of that.
Whereas with What Men Want, it's sort of just, she hits rock bottom. And it is painful and it is awful to watch and to see that. Just because it's like, the entire time you're rooting for her to, you know, become a better person. It's
a really weird scene at the end, though, where she goes and asks for his forgiveness, and he just, like, gives it to her automatically. Because, like I said, there's that consequence in the original. Like, his actions still have caused something for him, also. But with her, it's like, I forgive you.
Yeah. And I feel like I said because that scene is the live revelation scene is painful because we're rooting for her to become a better person. It's not that we're rooting for her to become a better person, it's we're rooting for her to succeed. Rooting for her to have a better life that she deserves because she's worked so hard for a better job, and she has neglected her friendships because of it, and we want good things for her because there's no reason for her not to have good things, except for not being a good friend, which, like, we understand that her job is hard, she's dedicated to it.
I'm just so confused on, like, are we supposed to think that she's an asshole, or are we supposed to be rooting for her? Because, like, in the original, he isn't really good at his job. He's constantly stealing from her because he isn't good at his job. He's a jerk. It's very clear. Whereas with What Women Want, What Men Want.
You got it.
I got it. With What Men Want, it's like, she's worked hard for this. She's good at her job. She's great at her job, even. And she knows what she's doing. She deserves that promotion. I want that promotion for her. I'm rooting for her. But at the same time, she's also lying about this, being a jerk to the guy, taking advantage of people around her with the mind reading. And it's like, do I want this?
Yeah, she deserves
What do I want?
Yeah, because at the beginning, she deserves good things, and she goes the extreme route to get them. And she she goes about the right way to do it, but because the world, you know, doesn't want her to succeed, or deems other people more worthy of success, her needs and wants are totally neglected.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's more interesting. Of she neglects her own needs and wants. Of she's more focused on her job and her career success rather than her friendships or her other interpersonal relationships. So the movie is about what men want rather than what she wants, which is not the way to go. That's not feminism.
That's not feminism. Feminism is not what men want.
Yeah, feminism is not what men want. Feminism is her choosing her career, and that's okay because she chooses that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, she knows she's sacrificing her other relationships, and her assistant tries to like juggle all this for her. But
to be clear, me saying feminism is not what men want. That was a joke. Feminism is about gender equality, so technically, yes, what men want is also important to feminism.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But
in this movie, the gender, we clearly see that men have the power.
Yeah.
Particularly in work, and she doesn't have any power. And the whole thing is, in order to feel empowered in your job, which is what she wants, you gotta quit and start your own business. Because there is no place for you here.
Make your own space.
Make your own space.
Which inevitably men will invade.
Like her coworker jumping ship and joining her. These movies drive me crazy. Anyways, moral of the story is, make a different movie.
And that's the end.
Make a different movie. That's what we want.
That's what we want.